Good afternoon and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Good evening to Liberians in Liberia. And again, this is Focus on Liberia and welcome. Ansony Sieh hosting. The Hour of Politics is the program. Do us that usual favor and share the broadcast with your contact. I always try to have my own way of looking at it. The topic for today's discussion, Alexander Belinda Cummings makes another ill-advised decision. Ill-advised decision, Ansony? Oh, yes. So, Mr. Alexander Cummings has, for some time now, making every effort to become our nation's president. The business of politics is a serious business. It is not like you are running a corporate institution. It is entirely different because it is owned by the people. Democracy is something that the people must own. They must participate. It is about the interests of the people. It is about the interests of the nation. And the interests of the nation can be promoted, can be achieved using ideology and a belief system. And so when an individual comes to the political field, that they want to be able to represent a nation, that person should have a unique sense of ideology. They must subscribe to certain fundamental ideology that they hold so dearly and that they believe in, and not only believe in, but that we have all the things needed to transform and better a nation. Belief system that person should also have. What does any such individual believe in? And how do they think those fundamental beliefs can help in shaping their understanding of where the country is and where they want to take the country? Now, these things that I just said might be, maybe should I say, difficult for some people to understand, but they are very, very significant. Who do you know yourself to be? How do you value yourself? How do you see yourself? Who you know yourself to be will impact just about any decision that you make as an individual. Your understanding of who you are, your understanding of the institution you represent, your identity, your humanity as an individual will drive what you do, will put you in the position to dare what is wrong and to challenge it and to say no to it. Your ideology and your belief system will give you that foundation to know a wrong for what it is and be able to resist it for what it is. In our country, we play with leadership. We always want to find somebody because maybe the person is just popular. Whether the person understands what is governance, what is democracy, what is leadership, what it means to want to represent an entire nation, to have their lives in your hand, to be able to shape the future and the destiny of a country. People think anybody can just do that. I know we can all disagree, but how are we doing now on a Joshua? If you look at Joshua, does he have a fundamental, maybe fundamental is way too big. Does he even have the basic understanding of who a leader is? Does he even understand the weight that the presidency carries? Does he even understand that? Is a lack of understanding that is responsible for the unseriousness and lack of understanding that he brings to this responsibility? He's been privileged to be executing in our country? Of course, yes. If he have had a fundamental ideology and co-belief system, and if he had had the understanding of what it means to be a head of state, that he has a whole nation on his shoulders, and that every decision he makes can either derail the future of that country or prepare it to a destiny that will see the country making progress. But that is not the point for which I'm here. I needed to give you a premise of this discussion. I will remind you of my topic. Alexander Belinda Cummings makes another ill-advised decision. So this is Mr. Cummings, and let me give you a little bit of history, because I said another ill-advised decision that he has made. That presupposes that Mr. Cummings has been making decisions that have been completely ill-advised in the past. He's running to be president. I have placed some question marks to his ability to lead our country for two main reasons. The ideology and belief system, I don't think they square with what is required of a leader who wants to lead a country that is in political and economic peril. The challenges we having as a country are serious. And so any leader to lead that country must have an in-depth understanding of what the nation is, its people, and that person must have an independent understanding of the seriousness of the issues our country faces. And that the challenges the people are having and how he would drive them out of poverty, out of misery, mayhem, and you need the rest. So Mr. Cummings came to the political space. What did he do? We heard he joined a political party called the ANC. In no time, he became the head. He came with this popular saying, you cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. Now, how he got to that political party and ended up becoming the head of that political party is another thing we need to ask. He's coming from America, where there is participatory democracy going on everywhere, in every political party in the United States. Was there any competition in that political party? Was there a primary that produced Mr. Cummings? You find the answer. Let me progress. So since he's been head of this political party, We do not have an expressive history of primaries in this political institution Mr. Cummings has as its political leader. By elections that the ANC participated in, there is no history of any known and transparent primary process that which is used in a democracy in selecting candidates. If you have the history, I will be glad to read it. Or if you have the records, I will be glad to look at them. That is Mr. Cummings. Now, that takes you back to the issue of ideology and belief system that I talked about earlier. What is Alice Cummings' ideology about leadership? What is his belief system about the processes that lead to selecting candidates? What does he believe? Is he more like the same corporate skills that's why he brings, where the people will decide who to hire? Even in the corporate world, some form of competition is there. One has to apply, they have to vet the person, they have to have interviewed and all that. And sometimes 2, 3 person or 4 person, depending on the seriousness of that position, have to interview just a single candidate. These skills that he had experienced in the corporate world, they are transferable. But it's obvious and it's becoming so clear now that Mr. Cummings is yet to transfer these skills in this political space. And I have reached a conclusion yet that he's yet to even understand where he is. He's operating in a terrain that he has been in now for a little over, should I pull it at 5 years? And he's yet to demonstrate any grasp of what all is required to run a political party, leads to talk about participating in the democratic process as a serious leader who have a unique sense of direction as to where he wants to take his political party, the people that follow him, before talking about the country. So talking about Mr. Cummings' history of making ill-advised decisions. And another thing I want to point out is that Mr. Cummings has participated in every undemocratic process within the CPP. Again, an evidence that Mr. Cummings did not come to this business of politics with any fundamental ideology and a belief system. No, I am yet to see it. Mr. Cummings was right there when the CPP started. They wrote a document that he signed to, and in that language, the language of that document, they said to be considered for employment or appointment in a future CPP government, one needed to be known, one needed to be active, and one needed to be visible. A violation of our constitution. Those were the 3. And when they met, what they met by, you had to be known. I mean, you needed to be known in the CPP. You needed to be a member of the CPP. You needed to be active. You could not just be an ordinary member. If you are not paying dues or doing any of those things, then I mean you were not active. You will not be considered for job. And you needed to be visible. I mean, what does it even mean? I mean, you needed to be at every event. You needed to go and worship every political leader. I mean, is that what it was? So Cummings participated. The man who is on record that we cannot be doing the same thing over and over, participated in the process that produced a document that illegally denied his fellow citizens the opportunity to participate in a Liberian government, even though that government was yet to even be birthed. Alice Cummings will not stop. Fast forward, that document was rejected by the Liberian people. They changed it, they made their changes. Even at that, they had closed the entire CPP thing and restricted it to pretty much 4 political parties. And if you talk about the characters Mr. Cummings sat idly by and allowed to have become part of the process is another thing that got my hair, scratching here, to put it in the labyrinthines. So, folks, Talia Ure, when Benina Ure was chairperson of the CPP, when that vacancy came about in, I believe, District 15 in the Logantown area, there was this, or has been this, Unity Party stalwart called Twer. What's this guy's name? So I believe it's Amos. He has been living in that district, in the Logantown area. He has contributed to the Unity Party. He lived in the district. Talia did not live in Logantown. Talia was not known anywhere near Logantown. Benina Ure, Cummings were right there. A decision was made for Talia to become the candidate of the CPP. The CPP, for me to continue with this point, I must say, throughout its lifetime, when it was just feeding candidates, put out the worst candidates ever, the CPP. One of such person was Talia. Benina Ure was head. That was Benina Ure's daughter. Cummings does not want to tell me he has no idea of a word called nepotism. It's a historical political term in Liberia. You the head of the CPP. You're talking about putting forth a candidate in a particular district where Talia was not living. The head of the CPP picks his daughter. Cummings was right there. He said nothing and allowed that. Why was he doing that? Was that a good decision? He allowed that to happen because he does not come to this political process with an ideology and a belief system. He would just sit idly by and allow just about anything to fly. Fast forward, there will be another by-election, one of which is Darius DeLong. Was there any primary process again? No. Darius DeLong was handpicked. The Cummings allowed this because he himself knew that in his political party, he will always be handpicked. There will not be a challenger. There will not be a primary that will produce him. And anytime I raise this issue with folks in the ANC, they say, well, Mr. Cummings is the only one who is running. Nobody else wants to run. Really? This is how Mr. Cummings believes that a participatory democratic process should be, one in which there is a lone candidate, especially when it comes to him. Every other time he has to be the lone candidate. Does he not see the picture of that? But Mr. Cummings does not see it. The reason he does not see that is because he comes to the political process without an ideology and any belief system. So for him, it was okay that Darius DeLong was picked because that is how he would rather be picked anyway. That is what he had known all along in his own political party. So coming to the CPP, because he did not come with any belief system, any ideology, any democratic process that he subscribed to, that he cherishes, that he holds dear, he would just allow just about anything to happen. we are looking for leaders who know what leadership is, who understand a kind of leadership that elevates the country, leaders who are prepared to stand for a kind of leadership that will serve as a foundation for the country, one that is worthy of others to emulate so that our country can be respected. Do you see that in Mr. Cummings? Fast forward. And I know I may get in trouble here. We heard about a candidate called Botokane. No disrespect to this mother. She can be my mother. I know my mother is uneducated. But I also know she knows herself. She knows what she's capable of and what she's not. I will not, under any circumstance, because I think I love my mother more, to say she can be a candidate in any election. No, I can never do that. Mr. Cummings should understand that when it comes to leadership in our country, we should put forth nothing less than our best and our brightest. That is how we increase the standing of our country. This is what they call nationalism. That is what they call patriotism. A nation does not grow because it has skyscrapers. A nation grows because its people share fundamental belief system and ideology that the pillars of a nation are the ideals that the nation stand on. These are the things leaders should be able to not only stand on, but these are the ideals they should preach. These are the ideals they should use as yardstick in their political decision making. Do you see that with Mr. Alice Cummings? No. Not in the case of Botokane that he supported. We are talking about the Senate here. People charged with the responsibility not only to make laws, but to understand the laws that they are making. And not only to understand the laws that they are making and the impact of the laws thereof. Before we can even come to talk about their role of holding elected officials accountable. Also, being responsible to confirm individuals that have been nominated by the executive, that they must first understand the roles these nominees have been put forth for by the president or appointed for by the president. These individuals should have unique understanding of what the roles and the significance of those roles are. Because when they know, they will know that such responsibilities or roles require the requisite qualified citizens who will have in-depth understanding of those roles before they can confirm them. In our country, it's different. But Mr. Cummings, the man who said we cannot be doing the same thing over and over, because he said it is the word of the people, even if the person does not have the requisite qualification and understanding of that responsibilities, for him is politics, or is good politics for any such person to be supported. If you are a fan of Botokane, if you think Botokane, with no disrespect to the Liberian mother, if you think she can best serve our country well as a senator, I beg to disagree. She can well serve our country well in other capacity. But Mr. Cummings got his fingerprint on that. And so the question I want to ask those who sing this song behind Mr. Cummings, what can they say about Joshua? Joshua was in the Senate. Our understanding is that he was a bobo senator. He has no clue what was going on in there. He sat idly by in the Senate. That is the horse of politics. Some people call it the horse of elders. We're talking about a branch of government where the national budget is being appropriated. To make appropriation of national budget, one must understand the impact it will make, or those appropriations will make. One must understand where we need more money. But if you have, or you don't have that understanding and you're in that area, you will just allow everything to slide. Who feels it? Our people, our nation. That is a disservice. That decision was made all because this man, Mr. Cummings, came to the political process with no fundamental ideology, and he does not subscribe to any defined and expressive belief system to guide him as he marches through this political terrain. So that brings me to my topic in more details. So here is Mr. Cummings. After he made this calculation with this disastrous framework document, he's been accused, he's in court, he got himself in this. He cannot make excuses. I'm glad the other day, before some of you start making excuses for him, Mr. Cummings, his own words, that to excuse him of any of the chaos that took place in the CPP would be disingenuous. In other words, he was part of the problems that dogged the CPP to this point. Mr. Cummings was admitting. But where Mr. Clean Hands and Mr. Honest Man did not go was the fact that he fell short by telling us decisions he made that contributed to the nightmare, disagreements he held that contributed to the nightmare, and activities that he carried on that contributed to the nightmare. Mr. Cummings was not honest enough. He was not clean enough to tell us. If you want to be clean, be clean. You want to be honest. Just tell the truth. So, folks, as though any of these decisions that were made by Mr. Cummings were not enough to have put him into this tight space legally and politically, here is Mr. Cummings again. There was an investigation in the CPP that found him liable of this so-called criminal wrongdoing of alteration and forgery of the framework document. That report hangs on his head. Now is in court. He is a party to a conflict and a court case. Now, Mr. Cummings makes a decision to hire a foreign firm. Not one, by the way, two of them. Mr. Cummings is hiring two international foreign firms to come and conduct a forensic audit on a document. He made that call. And he is going to pay Now, the parties to the conflict, there is no agreement between them that, look, this investigation you are calling for, we agree to it because we really want to know whether or not you did this or you did not do it. So what is the point of this other decision he's making? To pay several thousands of dollars to two firms to conduct a forensic investigation. Is the court asking for that? Are the parties to the conflict or to the kids asking for that? Do they have an agreement that this, if it exonerates you, then the case is over? And if it finds you guilty, then we know that you did it? What is he going to do with it? But Mr. Cummings has an argument. And it's very important that we bring Mr. Cummings' argument here. So here is Mr. Cummings speaking. In a fearless commitment to protecting my reputation and integrity, both at home and abroad, and as a duty of my Liberian citizenship, I have commissioned an independent international forensic investigation of the allegations with two international organizations. So, folks, Mr. Cummings hires foreign forensic investigators. We got to put that as there, right? We have to do that. So that is what Mr. Cummings has done. So there are a few questions we need to ask. What will a report from the foreign investigators do for Mr. Cummings? Will this report be admitted in the court? Did the court request this? Is Mr. Cummings, as a party or as a criminal witness in a case, does he have the right to go and carry on extraordinary investigation on his own accord? Can he get into trouble with this? Does this constitute any form of undermining the court authority or jurisdiction here? You are under an investigation by the court. While the investigation continues, you are conducting your own independent investigation. Now, the other thing we need to understand is, where is Mr. Cummings going for this investigation? He goes to London. And he here in his statement talking about, and as a duty of my Liberian citizenship, and as a duty of my Liberian citizenship. Is his citizenship being questioned here? In any shit? What is the point of bringing a citizenship in this thing anyway? Also, you are a Liberian, and I agree you are. Definitely you are. No question asked. So you run to Great Britain? And all these investigators, these firms that he's bringing, they are owned by white people. Mr. Cummings, does it even make sense for him to make the decision and pay these people several thousands of dollars? And who are the people he hiring anyway? Mr. Cummings is hiring the services of former British Prime Minister Tony Blair's wife. Let me give you a little history here. Tony Blair's wife, Mistress Blair, and Mr. Tony Blair met in law school. There they met. She was the boom beyond Tony Blair's political ambition. Everything Tony Blair became, he became more so because of this lady's contribution and support to Tony Blair. She stood by Tony Blair. Tony Blair, along with former President of the United States, George Bush, launched a war in Iraq based on lies. They said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So this Tony Blair's guy, this lady standing by this Tony Blair, agreed to take war to a sovereign nation based on lies. She was right there. She has been the primary advisor or chief advisor to Tony Blair. She was in every step of this decision to launch an onslaught on a foreign country based on lies. What happened? Iraqis were killed. The nation got destroyed. They committed human rights violation of all sorts in that country. This woman, they didn't care about the Iraqis, how they were feeling. They never invited them. These are imperialists. These are the people Mr. Cummings, a Liberian, is hiring for a case that is in court. He runs to imperialists. He has forgotten his identity as a Liberian. He does not see his own identity. He does not see the Liberianness that he's talking about. The only power he knows and sees and understands is the imperial power. There where he runs. And he's going to pay these people. He has so much money that he's going to waste this money on a report that will not even be admitted in the court of law. A report that many Liberians will not read. The people in Douala and Nikru Town that he wants to serve as president, they don't have interest in any report that will be written by imperialists, people who have blood on their hands. They don't have time for that. They want to see a leader who is making decisions that will uplift their lives. And if you want to fight, fight in a court. Use the very court. Hire Liberian lawyers and fight your case. He runs to Mr. White Man because there he got his riches. He boasts that he's been blessed, and I do not envy him. I credit him for that. What kind of backbone does the leader have? When you become president, this is what you're going to do? You're going to run to foreign powers to defend your nation's decision? Is that what you're going to do? So let me also ask, how does Mr. Cummings doing, by the way, my people? He's doing well, right? So here's the thing. There have been so many mysterious deaths in Liberia. From the auditors, we're talking about George Fambutu, we're talking about Nyinswa, Ngefti, Abbott, we talk about, what's his name, Martha Innes, fast forward of the Sherman of late Princess Cooper. These are Liberians who die under mysterious circumstances. If any forensic investigation were most needed, I will say, if Mr. Cummings wanted to demonstrate his Liberianness that he talked about, his Liberian citizenship, if Mr. Cummings wants to demonstrate the worth that he boasts of, don't get me wrong, Mr. Cummings has done exceedingly well for so many Liberians. I have read all of the things that he's done. He's done for Cotterton University. He's done for hospital. He built a STEM school in Liberia. He has done so much as an individual. I will not attempt to take that away. But there have been families who have gotten so hurt in this country by this government, either because of its, inaction. Who knows? Some of the cases might not have been the government doing, but I have no doubt some of the cases have been the doing of some actors in this government, some even sanctioned by this government. It's obvious the way they act, the way they treat the cases, the way they sweep them under the rug. And then if you look on the flip side, see how much interest and time and resources that they are committing to Mr. Cummings' case. Because it benefits them. It is not about justice. This government cares less about justice. Mr. Cummings, who have elevated or increased his standing as a leader with the Liberian people, if he has stood firm enough with these families whose loved ones got killed under mysterious circumstances, and all of these mysterious deaths needed to be proven by any form of forensic investigation. Would it have been better if Mr. Cummings if he has demonstrated his Liberianness that he has done in many instances? If he has done that, if he has intervened when these families needed all the help they could get when they were grieving, something that could be proven by forensic investigation, when they dearly needed it, when the nation needed it, Mr. Cummings did not do anything. Maybe he has help in some areas, I don't know. But with these high-profile mysterious deaths in the country, it is obvious if he had intervened to pay for forensic audit, not audit, but investigation in any of these cases, it would have connected him more with the Liberian people. So he is paying for himself. And who should rather do it for themselves? Mr. Cummings should be able to do that for himself. I'm not taking that away. But just as he is a Liberian, though all Liberians who have families and been hurting, these are people he wants to lead. These are people he wants to represent as a president. Well, maybe the interest was not there. Maybe he did not see it necessary at the time. I know I am venturing into territories where there is an ocean for disagreement. And that's the beauty of this search for leadership. And that is the beauty of holding our leaders accountable with respect when we can. Those who want to lead us must come with ideology. Do not overlook that. Let me share some lesson with you. Obama, like you and I, was an ideological Democrat. The Democrats have their set of beliefs. There are some things the Democrats stand by and believe so dearly. As an ideologue of the Democratic Party, they believe that healthcare is a right. And so he came in the midst of opposition from the Republican Party. He took all the risk along with his party, and they passed the Affordable Health Care Act. Today, it is law in the United States. It is not perfect, but it's helping millions. What is Mr. Cummings' ideology? In the Democratic Party, just as in the Republican Party, they believe in competitive or democratic process. Joe Biden, I mean, if he were in Liberia, people would say, well, let's just make the man the political leader right away. This is a man as young as in his 30s, I think 25 or so, in your 20s, if not 20 or 30s, became a senator in the United States, will serve as senator for over 25 years, served as vice president for 2 terms, yet was subjected to a democratic process. He won, and he will go to win the presidency. He did not say, well, I have the most name recognition. I am more democratic than any other person in the Democratic Party, so there should be no name. He came from an institution that was built by leaders with ideals and ideology and belief system. How is Mr. Cummings building the ANC? And how are we doing with primaries in the ANC? The primary thing, I will talk it every day. People don't see the significance of it. It brings everyone in the political process. They feel free to share in the decision making in the country. They participate. They feel the sense of what it means to be a citizen, to live in a democratic nation. That's why it does. That means the next young man and young woman will be inspired to jump in that process. And so today we have Kamala Harris as vice president for the United States of America. Today we have a Joel Howard Taylor as the vice president of the Republic of Liberia, a democratic process. If you want to help a democratic nation, you must first start practicing that in your political institution. How are we doing in the ANC with that? They will give you excuses. And what that just destroys my spirit about our collective effort and also in our individual ways of moving this country forward. There are people who are saying certain people are so good that they should not be questioned. Who in the ANC can challenge Cummings right now that this decision makes no sense whatsoever, that it is ill-advised? So at the end of the day, according to Mr. Cummings' argument here, this is to protect him, his name within and outside Liberia. Mr. Cummings has forgotten to know that he's in a democratic process in Liberia, that he wants to represent or serve the country Liberia. And he's running to imperialist. The very woman that he hires, this woman, an imperialist of the first order, I know she has this so much, so pronounced, so much talk about, acclaim, feminist, resume in the international space, that she's into countries and doing so much good and trying to elevate women around the world and promote equality. And I know she's doing all that. I mean, why would she not want to do that? I mean, she's a privileged person. I get that. But this woman is on record for saying all Black people, let me correct that. All Black women, their first experience with sexuality was a rape. In other words, she's saying there is no Black woman on this earth who has not been raped. That is what that woman said. But this is the person Mr. Cummings runs to and hires and is going to pay several thousands of dollars. This woman who denigrates, insults, and disrespect the Black woman, my mother, my sisters. This is the woman Mr. Cummings runs to for rescue, to write a so-called forensic report. And out of a sudden, he feels that this report's going to solve his political troubles that landed him in court. Mr. Cummings could have avoided all of this if he had first made a decision as to the ideals that he wants to stand by, live by, and stand on as a political participant in our democracy. If he had done that, he would not be making all these ill-advised decisions that he's made since he entered the political space. He's where he is today because of the decisions that he has made. And when it is like he has reached the peak of one ill-advised decision after the other, he doubles down. He hires an imperialist, a woman who disrespect women, Black women all around the world. That is the woman he hires. Basically, this woman is saying, my mother was raped. Every one of you listening to me, all Black women around the world were raped. That is not true. That is not true. But that is the person Mr. Cummings hires to save him. Mr. Cummings, if you look in his cycle, there are the brightest and smartest and more knowledgeable political actors, and even if they are not in politics, even within his very ANC, I know for a fact ANC has a lot of qualified people, but these people don't even come close to him. Mr. Cummings, he was a corporate guy. A corporate executive, one of the skills you must have is to be able to tap talents that will bring about productivity, that will bring about results. Mr. Cummings talks about he comes from a results-driven, terrain. That is true. But the results that he talks about, those results are produced by the qualified, by the competent, and they are hired by leaders who have the eyes, who know the process of finding them and selecting them for the results to come. Look in Mr. Cummings' cycle. Look at the people he surrounds himself with. Look at the people who are speaking for him. Then you see that there is nobody behind Mr. Cummings. There's no one who can disagree with him. Those who are around him are more than sycophants, people who will say yes, sir. So the thing is that I'm not sure if Mr. Cummings has an understanding of his African identity and humanity. I don't know. I mean, look in his circle. Do you see people? Name me some. I'm not close. I look from a distance. Name me some. Even the court case. Who are the people advising him? Look, my friend who is politically savvy, when this whole framework alteration thing came about, and when the news that, oh, we're going to constitute a committee to investigate, that friend called me. He said, Ansony, I know you want to have a better understanding of politics. So let me tell you what Mr. Cummings should do. He said, Mr. Cummings' first approach, this is politics. This is not fancy. I continue to tell those of you that listen to me, politics is not for children. It's not for boys and girls. Politics is for men and women who know what the business is, who know what the processes are. Those are the people politics is for. So, as I was saying, my friend told me, he said, look, Ansony, I see a huge danger here. The Cummings team should do everything to kill that investigation immediately. The fact that they are talking about it now, they should kill it. They should even preempt the result or the finding of any such investigation before it can even get started. They should preempt it. They should debunk it. They should resist it. They should reject it. They should do everything to kill it. But the Cummings people sat by. I guess in they are thinking, oh, well, if we do anything to stop the investigation, to kill the investigation, they will say we are guilty. That's why we did it. But look at the price that has been paid now. Where is the Cummings candidacy? It hangs in a balance. Where is the spirit that he needs to fight? That spirit has been quenched day after day in a court process. Now you have a Sema Serena Seifert, who is grandstanding, who is just pushing them around every step he gets. Look at what this man is going through. All of these things would have been avoided if he had identified the ideals that he wants to subscribe to for becoming a political participant, the belief systems that he wants to stand by, those who have informed him who he says no to, what he says no to, what he says yes to, and so on and so forth. But it's like Mr. Cummings came because he has this financial means. And what has been his political doing in Liberia? Going into parties, spending little money here and there, and bringing other people. And I don't see the political dividend yet. One of Mr. Cummings' greatest ill-advised and erroneous political calculation is that, so Mr. Cummings in his party, he cannot participate in a primary. He cannot participate in a primary. There's no history of any serious primary in his party. So the issue of primary is out of the picture. But he comes to the CPP. Now he's some kind of primary giant. He wants primary. He wants primary. But you didn't have one in your party. They say, what a wet bottle. Come on, man. Spare me that. Spare me that. So no leaders in this ANC. Can he even just pull out is something about show to make it look like there's a primary process? But that is besides the point, right? Phoebe Henry, no primary. The process leading to the selection of Tai Wonway as the ANC candidate for the CPP, whatever primaries that's supposed to be, we never heard anything like that. None. But then you come now in the CPP, and now out of a sudden you are a primary giant. We got to go to primary. We got to go to primary. Let me tell you something folks in the ANC have disagreed with for so long, and they are paying the price. Look, Mr. Cummings needed to have struck a deal, and they don't like me when I say that, with Uncle Joe Boakai. I don't hide my feelings. I'm not a fan of Joe Boakai. I believe fundamentally that it is a sad day in our country that Joseph Boakai, in my generation's time, is the one we are looking up to for leadership. It is an indeed sad reality. Oh, it is sad and I hate it. No, Joe Boakai, with no disrespect to this statement, he shook his bag, leave this country alone. But now that he has occupied that political space, we cannot force him out of there. He's a Liberian, that is his right, and he occupies a consequential political space. He has a good following. Do not dismiss him. Cummings' surest path and least expensive path to the presidency, and they make it constitutional in the CPP framework document. They call it consensus, which meant that those with interest to become the CPP or candidate can go in a room and decide who becomes the CPP candidate. So Cummings could have gone in that room with Boakai. I know they tried to do it when they went to Ghana, and he was not clear about it. He didn't want to disclose all the information. That's another thing. So if Cummings, because I understand their language there, you go and select among yourself, those with interest, somebody, or agree among yourselves, somebody to lead the ticket. There were his corporate managerial skills. He should have brought that to bear. But the guy who has not been produced by a competitive primary process in his own party now wants a primary, won a primary in the CPP. How ironic is that, folks? But to my point I was making, he could talk to Mr. Boakai, Uncle Joe, big brother, in the interest of this nation. We can't allow the we are God to continue. I can only agree that you be number 1 on the ticket if you would choose me to be number 2. And also, I want to serve. I want to give you a decent retirement. If you can serve for at least 3 years and retire, Cummings, that would have been the smartest, that would have been the easiest political negotiation that he could have done. He would not be having all these troubles on his end, because from the get-go, all those who supported Boakai were in line. They were like in some form of, I don't want to say unanimous, but it was more like a conventional understanding, if I can put it that way, for lack of better word. That it got to be, man. In no way Cummings can become so unreasonable that Uncle Joe should go at number 2 to him. That was simple. Cummings could have played his card right there. But his own corporate managerial skills were not applicable, were not transferable. He did not transfer them. Either because he didn't know where he was. He would have spent less money. That means he would have had loafer in their basket. He would have been next in line to the presidency. We are talking about Joe Walker today as a potential president or as a serial political candidate or presidential candidate in Liberia only because he served as vice president of Liberia. Had Joe Walker now served as vice president of the Republic of Liberia, he will be a political nobody. Cummings couldn't see that. But you know why this happened? It happened more so because of the people behind Cummings. They elevated him as this God. They forgot that in every space of life, in every profession of life, you must start from somewhere. The last time I checked, Alex Cummings did not jump into corporate America as a CEO. He started from somewhere. I read about a company he started with in the state of Minnesota. And fast forward, go to Coca-Cola. Even at Coca-Cola, he did not, go to the level of number 2 on day 1. At some point, he headed some branch, I understand, in Africa. Before going to the height, he walked his way up there. Now the guy comes to politics. Out of his soul, he thinks is so smart that he cannot and should not walk his way. And what is the reason? Is it because he has money to spend? To spend? Is that what it is? Because he has money to spend, so he should be at the top? This is not like having money and buying a house for mortgage or paying cash down. No, that is not it. We are talking about a democratic process here. We're talking about you participating in a process in which the decision is made by a majority of the people. It is not something that you spend money to win. Vanny spent all the money he did not win. Vanny did not smell the presidency. Thomas' father spent all the money he did not win. He was an ATM politically. He did not smell the Senate. DeLon has no money. He begged around during the campaign. Oh, yes, he was begging for money everywhere. He will come to win. The obvious reason was he was in a collaboration with other parties. The strength, the force was brought together and placed behind him. He was on the way to the Senate. But he will not turn that light on too, though. I must point that out. He became a liar who lied on a plane ticket. Another disgraced politician. Now he has turned to a talk show host. This is a senator who is now a talk show host. He does not even understand the gravity of the responsibilities that he carries as a senator in the Liberian Senate. He's a talk show host. Any other lawmaker who were in or was in the media and came to lawmaking, they abandoned that. You have a serious responsibility on your hand. And you still want to be a talk show host? But this is not about DeLon. So, folks, there where Alice Cummings makes it. He missed it. He missed it. We would not have been here. Cummings would not have been in this so much trouble if he have seen this very simple decision. But the people around him, oh, the old man is old, he's not going nowhere. You can beat him in the primary. You have money, we'll spend the money. And United Party that became a political weakling I know folks in the United Party will not want to hear that. The United Party became a political weakling when George Walker took over. George Walker does not command, any political, what's the word? He does not command any political, following. I mean, he does not have the command. He does not have the charisma, to pour people together and to lead them. That's his nature. It's not that I'm taking something away from him. We all are made in our own individual and unique ways. We all are. For him, he is this, cool man. He walks slowly. He talks slowly. He's not a kind of leader. He's not a charismatic leader. He's an absent leader. So he does not have any political command as Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, or has. Joe does not have that. So when he came, the United Party became a political weakling. They have members, they have voters all across the country. Yes, they do. But I'm talking about a leader in charge of a political party that everybody knows that, yes, we have a political leader, and this political leader is going to take us to victory. Joe does not have that. So Cummings, who have become Liberia's president in waiting, with few millions or even no money spent, he blew it. He blew it. He refused to take baby steps, and he blew it. Let me conclude, folks. Alice Cummings has done so much damage to his political career. The one that you don't see is the fact that he came to this without any ideology. He does not understand himself as a politician. He is yet to learn what he's into. He's yet to understand it. He's yet to understand it. He feels that his money can get him through, and there where he's mistaken. This is not a corporate entity. A nation is not a corporate entity that an individual. Even in corporate America is much more democratic now. It's much more democratic now. Not one person makes all the decisions. But Mr. Cummings is in this situation today. My conclusion is he's where he is because he came with no ideology. He has no defined beliefs that he stands back, that guide him, that inform him what to say no to and what to say yes to. He came with their mantra, you can't be doing the same thing over and over. He has made one ill-advised decision after the other. Mr. Cummings has made so much. He has made so much unwise decision, misguided decision, imprudent decision, incourteous decision, inconsidered decision, injudged decision, and ill-conceived decision. I repeat that. Imprudent, incourteous, also ill-considered, ill-judged, and ill-conceived decisions. Sorry, I have to do that. That is what Mr. Cummings has done. I know you feel sorry for him. How long will it take before he gets to know he does not have the right people? A corporate executive will hire the best talents. Does he have them? No. A corporate executive will not make one bad decision after the other, because when that happens, the company is going down. He'll be losing revenue. The next thing, he will not be CEO anymore. You might not be that CEO you want to be, Mr. Cummings. You can't continue to do this to yourself. The idea that you can hire a private investigator, two, by the way, and pay them, and you don't even care about who they actually are. You run into the almighty imperialist, probably because you have benefited from an imperialist system, and so that is all you know. You do not know that you are an African, you are a Liberian. You need to stand for this republic for what it is. So this is where we are. You got to take out that cap of imperialism, put on the cap of a Liberian lion, ready. Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and identify the ideologies that you want to stand by and the belief system that you want to stand by. Tap the best talents that can be of help to you. Look for people who will disagree with you. Do not align yourself with questionable characters. Show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. And do not get carried away by those in your ears who are pulling you away from easy political decision making that will sell you through. One of which that you miss, and you miss big time for you, for which you are where you are today, is the decision to not have struck a deal with Uncle Joe and sinking the trumpet or blowing the trumpet of a primary, a competitive one for that matter, that you have never participated in. You go in something you alone contesting and you say that primary, you call that competition. So folks, this is how I will bring down the curtains in today's fiery edition of the Hour of Politics. I always like to concede that I don't know anything. I'm hungry to learn something. I always talk to people, and sometimes some of the information they give me, I don't communicate it better. But there is one thing I will not do is to give up on myself. And there's one thing I will not do, I will not give up on this country. I know leadership has consequences when it goes wrong. My friend Dennis and big brother will tell me, my Peking, leadership is a life and death situation. I have mentors in my life. I will not call their name because I did not seek their permission. I talk to them. Sometimes I don't do too well, but yet they don't give up on me. They see something in me. It burns like fire. They are nurturing it. This country, created by free Black people to be a beacon of hope in Africa, we cannot give it to jokers. If you come prepared. Be our best. If you are not our best, prepare yourself, because some of us will not sit idly by and allow some people, because of popularity or whatever they have, to just come and fool us. No, it will be a consequential mistake. We pay so many prices for that. Doe was one such example. Taylor became another. And I don't want to go into the corruption thing. Many of you know about it more than I do. Thank you for watching. For those who are offended today, I do not apologize. Register your disagreement and I will get better. I'm not apologizing because I want to be angry. Arrogant. Because I'm thirsty for a new Liberia. In that thirst, in that march, we will step on toes. We will say things, some which we will regret. But we do those things because we too, as a people, deserve a better life. We deserve a better country, one that we can be proud of. We all cannot run to this country. There are some people who will never have that opportunity that we have. We must give them that opportunity in our own country where we can be respected and be proud. No matter what kind of people we got here, we will always be Liberians. And that is why the song "We Are All Liberians" is taking us home. I thank you. I love you all. Hold me accountable. Let's hold our leaders accountable. That is how the journey starts for a better Liberia. Sycophancy, praise and worship will not get us there. That has been the path we've been on. We need to change it and change it now. The song "We Are All Liberians" is taking us home. Don't forget my name, Ansony Sieh, Muran Sieh, Blood Sieh, Nambo Sieh is my name. Or if you like, you call me Sonny Ball. If you like, you can call me Sonny Ball. I see you when I see you again. Until then, enjoy the song "We Are All Liberians." Bye-bye, folks.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.